Hi, everyone. We're just going to get started in a few seconds or a few minutes, maybe. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. I want to thank you all for showing up today and then also for um, supporting my book. It's from LSU Press. I want to thank LSU Press and also, actually, Sunny, is it possible for me to see anybody else on this, or is it just me?
We're just broadcasting, so
Okay.
we
Oh, I
don't,
see.
yeah, but
Okay.
we see our audience in the comments on
Okay,
Facebook.
great. All
Yeah.
right. So it just says it's just a black screen, but that's okay. Okay. So thank you, LSU Press and Sawani Poetry for supporting this and for taking care of the manuscript. I'd like to especially thank Leanne Couch, my editor, and Wyatt Prunty for selecting it. So yeah, this is my first book, Novice, and I wrote it over 20 years while I was living in Asia and Eastern Europe. I didn't know I was writing it, but I was collecting it, poems at the time, I guess. And a lot of those places show up in my poem. A lot of those places show up in my poems, and as well as the American South, where I grew up in Georgia. So the cover is actually a picture of novices. And when I say novice, I mean a Buddhist novice, which is an initiate. Before you become a monk, you walk the path of the novice. And this is my first rainy season in Burma, where I'm taking a picture from a cab. And these are girl novices. When I lived in Burma, we lived there for 3 years, and they wear pink robes and these amazing red sashes. So, yeah, that was my first rainy season there. So, I'm going to read from the book now. And I start with a poem called Vasa Season. And Vasa means rain in Pali, which is what all the Buddhist scripts are written in. And it means rain. And it also marks the season where the monks gather to air their grievances and so they can live another year together. Yeah, and they also measure how old they are by how many rainy seasons they've lived through. So Vasa season. In this deluge, my wheels lose traction in a valley of mimosa and orchid trees. Yet the monk wades through, unfazed, as a plastic bag catches on his robes. He carries his bowl for alms. The novices giggle and cluster. They accept, bend, they say. And with each Vasa season, they grow another year older. By this measure, I am 0. My car stalls. It creaks and rocks from the current, and I assess what I missed. Crows flying low and ants hauling larvae across my doorstep, as if I could prepare for the next rain and be better at waking from my soft focused dream of the jungle and meet crisis like an old rowdy friend and expect certain violence from the bone sky bearing down and the slurry of leaves smearing the lines. So when I lay eyes on something I buried, I may not die to see it, unearthed, shiny and snaking around my legs. So I may drink without drowning and live through something and be unafraid. So I'll read from, there's 3 sections and to the book. It's hot season, rainy season, and cool season. And that is organized around a year in the tropics where there are only 3 seasons. A lot of the hot season poems deal with childhood, growing up in the South. So this is called Southern Magnolia, which it actually magnolias are endemic to only 2 places on Earth, and one is the American South, and the other is southern China, where I spent a lot of time and where some of my family are from. Southern Magnolia. I walk home barefoot from the pool. The old white neighbor takes his time, and just as I pass the pink foamy tide of azaleas, he emerges from under his oaks. He's kindly, or maybe just polite. He mentions the overgrown grass. The old man thinks our family is slovenly and cheap, but he does the neighborly thing and calls the house to lend us some tools. I pick up. He jokes, says he hopes I wasn't waiting for a boy to call. He says, "You're not like that, are you?" No, sir. I'm 15. I give the phone to Dad. I keep my head down at dinner, clean my plate. Outside, the evening bruises. The roux of dust and pressure loosens. Fireflies appear. Raccoons, then possums shuffle up from the woods. Every night I climb the driveway and smoke. I picture miles of kudzu along the highway, scales that flutter as they take over. Then I ash where the halo of streetlight falls, half on asphalt, half on the magnolia at the end of the cul-de-sac, where we live, and that tree lives, older than the bees. The next poem is Violent Femmes, and not knowing the age group of this crowd, Violent Femmes were an alternative band from the 80s. Violent Femmes, Summer, Atlanta, 1989. Handstands in your pool. And after Marco Polo, we rest elbows on the concrete lip and ask each other what it means to lose your teeth in dreams. At night, we play Contra and pluck carrot sticks radiating from a bowl of ranch dip. Skip to 13. We chug Gatorade and gin, and you walk a straight line in the kitchen. Outside, I vomit in the daisy bed. We turn out mixtapes and collages, wear corduroys, plaid flannel, and saddle shoes. Prank call. Boys enter. I can't keep up and am mean too often. New friends rotate in. Sleepovers end. But we are loyal to some original feeling, and in April reach out for our birthdays. Up to the last time on the phone 10 years ago when you are in LA and knitting. Trying to live in the moment, you chuckle low and quip, I hope this is it. When you're gone, your dad returns some of my old letters. It's your last prank, where instead of hearing your voice, I'm forced to hear me, pretending not to need anyone, and worse, misusing curse words. You'd laugh at the desperation, almost as desperate as our first meeting on the playground swings. Strawberry blonde strands threading the chains. You toe the mulch and ask, have you even heard of the violent femmes? I lie and say yes. By the way, the Violent Femmes was my first concert, and I was in 8th grade, and I was there, and I thought to myself, I am too young for this. So that's how I knew I was in the fast lane. I did not want to be there. This is called the paperback room. We found them on a hunt for illuminated texts on the second floor of the library in a quiet wing towards the back, a room with celadon green carpeting and dark shelves and paperback romances. Windows lined one wall, but we wouldn't have looked out the windows. We sat and read aloud passages when we should have been writing papers. We laughed at the tropes. She was klutzy and had no idea she was beautiful. He was a cad who wanted to be a dad. But after her skin grew hot with his gaze, we grew silent, in an almost holy way. We leaned against the shelves and then eventually sprawled onto our stomachs, completely focused on reading to ourselves. The heat grew between her legs. She came in mind-shattering waves. Luckily, she was on the pill. Light faded, and someone mentioned the dining hall closing. So we wrapped scarves, hauled on peacoats, and trudged up the hill, through broken up and frozen over floes of December snow. In our warm, incandescent rooms, we returned to comparing Van Gogh's potatoes to William's plums. Later, my friend confessed she went alone to the paperback room the next day and stunned herself with how she couldn't stop reading. She was the most honest of us all about the chaos of her body. And in that icy cloister of stone and bookish girls, I fell deeper for her. After all, the safest place is to be hidden, but still to see, in her thirst for these objects of obsession. Her study was not even as a bid for self-possession, but simply as a woman who plays with the wild deities guarding dusty truths in the next room. And this poem's called Come Back Shane. And Shane is a movie from the 1950s. It's a cowboy movie with Alan Ladd. And it was really big in Thailand. My parents grew up with it. Uh, so that's all you need to know. It's called Come Back Shane. At my grandparents' house, everyone is fed something delicious. Father likes mangosteens and mother craves guava. I eat coconut custard tarts. My uncle eats at odd hours. He speaks loudly, and sometimes I catch him, glassy-eyed and smoking. We both have the same tapered fingers and like to sing, but I sense in his hunted gaze that while our family eats well, maybe we are also in exile. He rarely goes out. Grandma and Grandpa don't allow it. He names each shepherd mutt Shane, after his favorite cowboy, so he can call out, "Come back, Shane." Each pup is brought in from the street and fed rice and liver. Each one knows how to hunt for snakes and monitor lizards. When one dies, another Shane is taken. Grandpa built the house on a snake swamp, and that's the curse of it. Mother and uncle are still there, and the fan's shadows are now ceiling stains. The current Shane is a shiny-coated girl who drops her chew toy at my son's feet. She plays gentle, but is chained to the jackfruit tree. When another dog passes outside the gate, she goes berserk and lunges at all who are not as well fed, and yet they walk by free and unashamed. And this is Leaving Song. Leaving Song. Orange dust coats the toes, walking this ruddy strip of crumbling sidewalk, where I parse the beats of moths in the beetle palms. This is your hair falling, your voice slipping, in a kind of leaving song. Now the fronds blacken the rim of the lake, where we made plans for when we would return to the States. The note that was your laugh, I heard it last over a shoulder midday in hot season, walking to our cars and hardly believing we wanted the rain to start. The sound plays tricks like the heat, wanting to stick. For days, then weeks, I heard you in the bulbul's whistle up in the yellow blossoms. And now I'll read some poems from the rainy season. Um, let's start with, um, we'll do She's a Maniac. Maniac is a song, I mean, from Flashdance. Of course you guys know that, right? It's really about Instagram. She's a maniac. I thumb past a meme of Ben Affleck, post cry, face tilted to the sky, and a hashtag mood. Bowls of sensual noodles, a gram of a pic of holders protect me from what I want, and a still of Roger Sterling from Mad Men subtitled, You Don't Value Relationships. Now, do I like, hide, or comment on a video of a little boy dragging an empty jug as he takes us on a tour of a camp crowded with women and children? The clip rewinds. The ground is dry and there are no men. It's happening now. His sky is a dusty blue robin's egg. He is the age of my son, and I hover until my thumb presses save, which sends it to a folder called Saved, where I also collected a gorilla who spins to the track, She's a Maniac, in a plastic blue kiddie pool. She doesn't actually hear the music. It's a track laid over her. Sunlight streams in through a square opening as she spins in a vortex and pounds the surface to glitter, nebulizing the iron bars and cinder blocks. I rewind, complicit in returning her to her cell, since I like to watch a dancer become the dance, as there is no saving ourselves. And this is called Cherry Pits, Sofia, Bulgaria. I wait in the market for the rain to pass and watch a man smoke a cigarette on a bench. The rain pours a shawl around the bullet of his body. Maybe he prays or relaxes this way so as to loosen his neck from some chokehold he mistook for embrace. The rain does not stop. I step over the potholes bobbing with cherry pits. A sign warns, do not cherry pick. Still I see the cashier's Guns N' Roses tee. Every day, 3 rows of dented yogurt tubs, the slit of butcher between between the curtain of hanging pigs, and a constant reel of models slinking towards me, on runways, on cafe TVs. And the man who smokes in the rain sighs as if he is the rebar inside concrete, trying to stop himself from becoming the person he is. This next poem I wrote while doing this thing where you just try and figure out what to make for dinner. I spent a lot of time thinking about what to cook for dinner. It's called Patience is a Hunger Too. Tidying the house, I lift a block to find a spider wrapping her arms around a milky clutch. I ask her, do I exist only to feed others? She considers her own body of fingers as if to say, what is a mother except hunger gloved in patience? She sips, or just sits with herself. I suppose she does not care if her web describes the plane of light over a gully, only that it vibrates, and her regrets, if any, fall like crumpled cans to the floor. She wants me to come in or move along. I replace her roof and go away humming a murderer's song. For who am I to judge a home built on the wild angles of a leaning rattle and sideways drum? And I wrote a series of moon poems in the year after my father passed away, but there are several moon poems, and this one's from the spring equinox. Moon. The dark comes on gently in dips of swallows. We had forgotten our swimsuits, collected rocks on the beach, and ate onigiri for dinner outside a 7-Eleven. When bats start out from temple eaves, we head northwest and drive the same speed as egrets. their black twig legs flung behind them in ballet extension. We climb above the sea, where the pink eye of the moon follows until we slip into folds of mountain passes. We see only a few feet of road lit by our headlights, but still we make it home this way in the dark. And now the cool season poems. I think we're okay on time still. I'll read The Room in Palermo, which is it's my one love poem. And my husband is always like, you could write more. And I was like, well, life is long. The Room in Palermo. The butcher wheels his cart dripping with tripe past the stink-eyed cats on the stoop, and under a rainbow umbrella, a beefy man in a gold chain necklace sells salted slices of cucuzza longa over ice. And we stop and eat and walk and eat and find an empty dozing street of green awnings like stacked rows of bruised and half-lowered eyelids. You follow me up the narrow staircase to the apartment with the warped shutters that let in slivers of light that shatter the room, and we walk through their shards and lay down our things. And when you step over here, you step over the cracked tile, the color of dried blood, and I joke about gelato and ruins. But when finally you get here, to me, to the bed, I remember the light lifting from your collar, and the roofless church where the sumac grew, and I hold you in this place I haven't yet turned into dying love. And the next one is called Yangtze Gorge. From the sampan, I see orange and gray monkeys on a pebbled beach contemplating us, while up on a crag, men flanked by sparse trees gather around the steam from a slaughtered pig. They are submerged now in the flooded valley of our years of marriage. But still I see the monkey and the pig as formed by that place, as opposed to bodies composed in a painting, like we were that first year of marriage. Sometimes in the night in the bathroom, I stood and sensed everything was thin. The walls, the mirror, fine as a needlepoint drawing, holding us together, and I prayed to be changed by it. I'll read Starling. Starling. In the kitchen, the blue flame ignites under a kettle out the window. A starling shelters from morning drizzle under fig leaves. Did the moon keep him up too? Did it draw him in as it drew water back to the shore to re-wet and press into the marks it had known before? While in bed sleepless, I waited again for the feature to begin, begged for the waiting to end, but in nearing, forgot why I wanted morning to come. I reached for the spoon when the starling wings his acid-specked mantle to another room. Now the space where it had clung bounces as in the moment after meeting oblivion. I stir the milk into tea and am folded back into the succession of mornings such as these, when I am delivered by a bird, free to be haunted and free to leave. And I'll read two more poems. Um, this is the title poem for which the book is named. It's called Novice. A symphony of snores in the women's dorm met me when I came back from the shower at night. I brought a camera and photographed angels' trumpets on that mountain in Chiang Mai. It was not a cult, but it was cultish. My father wanted to join the monkhood, and this was practice. I did not shave my head or wear robes, though everyone wore white. We meditated, listened to lectures, and fasted. I was 23 and thought a lot about sex. One man admitted he had had a breakdown and spoke with brittleness. A kind woman saved me a tray of food each morning because I fell asleep only as day broke and missed breakfast. After 2 weeks, I gave in and finally slept. Then I felt the bliss sieve out as we drove down the mountain. My father and I were quiet in the season when monks air their grievances. On the old highway lined with rubber trees, we try to see past the window each of us invented. It's funny how the way is pitted against the family unit. What were we in that moment? Breathing becomes the kin to one's aloneness. When we got to the airport, he held an umbrella over us during the afternoon rain, and when the water began to rise over the toes, I watched him disown his feet and decide to remain. And just one more, I'm going to read magic, which a high note, I guess. I mean, an up note. Magic. On the roof deck, tucked between quivering palms, it comes back to her, the word love, overheard in a dream sometime, with Mars and Venus in the sky. Something, something love, a voice said. She squints at roof tiles, tries to conjure exactly what everything is. All is vanished. The problem with looking is remembering the way in. Love is in, up, no, it is the night of Sangeet. There are drum beats. An uncle in a gray silk kurta punches the air, then shimmies, and cousins thrust their chest upward. They undulate, arms upraised. What is love? The song transmits. Through smoke, the groomsmen kiss, and time suspends, or are they rhythm? Baby, don't hurt me. And they pantomime, eyes closed, no more. Aunties collapse on dining chairs in flounces of ice blue and topaz silk, and furiously fan their necks bared as in the bravura portraits of heirs. And they are heirs to something. On the way back to the city, cobbles hard on the feet. All love is a pomegranate tree next to a bridge in midsummer. The fruit she reaches for, almost ripe. She's falling or still asleep when the words surface, though not who said them. You will have love. The voice is everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are you ready for questions now?
Yes, I'm ready for questions.
Okay, excellent.
Mhm.
So our first question here is about the I voice in this collection. So
Okay.
there's a big debate in the poetry world of is
Mhm.
the I, should we take that to be the writer? Are there, typically we shouldn't take that to be the writer
Mhm.
automatically, right? So how do you work with the I and times when that is speaking as yourself and the times when that is speaking as a speaker that is not yourself, and sort of
Mm.
how do you think of your relationship to the I in your poems?
That's a really good question. I think it depends on first the feeling that started the poem in the first place. And the I believe, is always kind of sort of lying, even if it's the I that is speaking from some kind of personal experience or the I that is embodying a different voice, um, a different thing, a different animal, different person. I think in any case, there's a little bit of lying going on. So it's never quite exactly the I. And I mainly try to focus on what the feeling, like the compulsion is that needs to be expressed. And if the I is the pronoun, then that's the one that's going to carry it out. Sometimes I use you, and that feels sometimes accusatory or just that feels like you're outside yourself sometimes as well. But thank you. That's a good question.
Thank you so much. Our next question here is about space and place within your poem. So, can you
Mm.
talk about writing about different locations, countries, places within the US and
Mhm.
outside? Do you write these poems from those places? Do you start them in those
Mhm.
places? Or if you're writing them from outside of those places, how do you get your mind into the space that you're writing about? Again, maybe if it was a place you visited in the past or not at
Mhm.
all.
That's also a really good question. The place and time really mattered a lot. I mean, living in Asia and Eastern Europe, those um, were very evocative. And I think that, again, I start with the feeling of, and I need, when the feeling leads, uh, I need to build sort of the space around it. And so there's got to be boundaries like the walls or the architecture of a place in order to enter into that feeling and to be intimate with either the place or the feeling. And I did write a lot actually during rainy seasons in Burma after I had, um, I don't know, that place was particularly moving because there was so much about the elements that you just couldn't keep outside the house. You know, the animals would start, the insects would start coming in, and it just felt like an invasion of your boundaries and something that like almost like you hadn't addressed. And so that was one thing. And a lot of things that I hadn't addressed were from childhood. And for me, like Georgia, growing up there, the environment there, the nature there, I think those are, I mean, it's a place of a lot of wonder for me, childhood, and a lot of pain. And I think that there's a connection between the environment in Asia and then also that just woke me up to something that had to be addressed in Georgia. And so yeah, time and I mean, you can't I feel like you can't really describe time without a space. Um, and 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 you have to build it with words for people, obviously, and then and for yourself. And I just need a point of entry. I just want to get closer to the feeling um, that that again I wanted or needed to be expressed. So thank you. Wow, that's a good question.
Thank you. I actually, Sunny was going to say something about being very jealous that you got to see the Violent Femmes in concert, but we have a good question here about
Uh-huh.
popular music, so that is
Hmm.
perfect and better than what I was going to say. So our question is from Jared. Question
Hi,
says,
Jared.
I love the collection's direct connections with songs and popular music.
Yeah.
I'm curious about your relationship between poetry, music, and rhythm. Did music lead to poetry or vice versa? Do you listen to music when you write?
Oh, that's such a good question. I mean, I love, I mean, sounds, does it, I mean, can I say I love music? I mean, everyone loves music, right? I don't listen to music while I write because I find it that would just be too distracting. But I think I'm very nostalgic for music that I grew up with or songs that are even written now that make me feel nostalgic. And it does feel like there's a portal to feeling when I listen to certain songs. And, you know, I am from the 90s, so I like most of those alternative bands like the Pixies and I like if I could write a song or a poem that made people feel the way I feel when I listen to them, that would be amazing. And then there was the Violent Femmes, which they were seminal in so many parts of my childhood and girlhood, you know, girl, like just girl, I'm obsessed with girlhood too, what that means. I'm just sort of in love with girls and just sort of the brutality, just sort of the skating on the edge of what it and sort of the violent world, but also loving each other as deeply as you can love anything at that point in your life. Um and I feel that way. I mean, that sounds a little scary, but it's I think it's very real and intense and beautiful uh at that age. But yeah, also like, you know, it's coming. You know, you also have that first with that particular poem, Violent Femmes, it's sort of also the prototype for friendships that maybe aren't gonna last or they're not gonna stay in that same original place. And because you're moving at different speeds. And also, you know, it's just the prototype for a best friend, but also maybe sometimes problematic one. Um, but but again, there's a loyalty to that feeling.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cherry.
Our next question is about the book's organization.
Mhm.
So the book sort of being organized by seasons. Can you talk about how you decided to do that, why you decided to do that, and just sort of how that's functioning for this project?
Sure. I planned the organization around a year in the tropics. So you have the hot season, which is so hot. It's so hot. It starts in March and it tapers off in May, but it's still warm. It's still hot. But it's dry. And then there's the long rainy season, which is about 6.5 months. At least it was in Burma. And there's sort of like in Thailand, there's sort of like a two-parter rainy season. And then there's a cool season, which is so short and sadly short. But I was reorganizing it, like a lot of the poems that felt almost compulsive, um, and heated, I put in the hot season, and those were mostly my childhood poems, where you don't have a lot of self-control, or the things don't seem to have control over, or the ego doesn't have control over what's happening. And the rainy season poems are where a lot of the animals start showing up because that is when a lot of the animals start showing up and sort of a dealing with, I guess, to parallel it to the actual Vasa season in the Buddhist tradition, when grievances come out, where you have problems that weren't addressed before, and sort of this idea that you need to face something in order to move on, and whatever that truth is that needs to be faced, it's sort of, for at least this collection, it's wrapped up about a little bit in fear and shame, about what it would mean to be outside of what you grew up with. I guess meaning being outside your body or being outside a selected group of people or your home. Um, and then, of course, the cool season is more, I think, diffuse, and there's a little more movement allowed, and it's sort of, you know, it's sort of it's not post grief, but a little bit like you can maneuver around things. There's a maturity, I think, to it.
Thank you so much. Our next question is about what you're working on now. Do you have future projects in mind? Are you just taking a break and giving yourself a little pause? What might be your next project?
Thank you. I am mm, writing poems as they come to me, but not getting a lot done because of Novice and doing readings and things like this. Yeah, I'm taking my time. For as much as I'd like to write about what's happening now and sort of the collective, a lot of this was personal, of Novice was personal. And I think that I probably have to honor whatever poems come to me, even though I would like to write about things other than family and childhood and nostalgia. But I don't, you never know what's going to come. And if I have to talk to my parents again, then I have to write those poems. So, um, yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much. Well, that is our last question, so we can
Thank
go
you.
ahead and say thanks and goodbye to the audience.
Thank you, everyone. And if you like these poems, please order them at LSU Press. There's a 40% off link, I think, in the comment section. And yeah, thank you again to everybody who came out and who has supported me.